What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Vincent Genna, who is a world-renowned psychic healer, respected spiritual teacher and dynamic animated speaker who receives and deciphers messages from the other side to help improve our present lives. The wisdom gained from the dying and his all-loving, compassionate approach make him a highly effective, enlightened messenger and an internationally beloved spiritual teacher. He has appeared on national television, radio and print. Vincent Genna, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I love it, having someone with your abilities on and with your background as well. Now, okay, so this is you've not produced any books as of yet, have you?
Oh, I've been in the process of producing a book for the longest time. See, I'm doing it different than most authors. You see, they have to write the book and then go out all over the country and try to sell it. I'm going all over the country and everybody wants to buy my book. So I've sold it already. I'm really on the New York Times best-selling list as soon as I finish the book.
I love it. See, the power of the law of attraction is there straight away with you. You've already got it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm telling you. And everybody keeps bugging me for it. So it will be done soon. God, it's not working.
Yeah, I got that feeling about yourself that there's a book on its way. I thought, well, there's no way this man can not do a book, have a book yet published, or that there must be one on the way. There's got to be, with the amount of experience and wealth of knowledge that you've got. So, just for the audience, just to begin with, I mean that, yeah, just for the audience, just tell us a bit about your upbringing as well, in a sense, because I understand from what I've read that it was a pretty harsh upbringing.
Yeah, it was a pretty tormented youth, and it started fairly early, like as soon as I went into school. Prior to that, it was at home because Mom was really disappointed that I wasn't a daughter. She always wanted a daughter, and so even on my birthday, which happens to be April 1st, right? So the doctor is delivering me, and the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck, so he couldn't show me right away. So he announced that, oh, you've got a beautiful male child, and I'm getting the cord off his neck. And she says, no, he's not male, he's a girl. And he's saying, no, Mrs. Genna, this is definitely a boy. And she says, no, this is April Fool's. You're trying to pull an April Fool's joke. She was so disappointed. Now, mind you, she told me this story many years later to make a point to me that how disappointing I was. So from a very early start, she treated me completely different, not just from the disappointment, but I was a good looking baby. So she dressed me daintily, very prissy, with the bow tie and the right clothes. And by the time I started school, you don't go to school dressed prissy style. Let me tell you something. The kids in school can be really cruel. So the torment started very early, perfectly combed hair. And they used to pick on me. And I was a lover, not a fighter, not to mention I was a scrawny little thin kid and frail. My brother was the powerful one, and he used to fight. I wouldn't fight. I'd run. And so the entire school experience as I was running home, they would chase me. And at times they would catch me. They would beat me up. They would shove me in lockers, flush my head in the toilet, throw me in the dumpsters. And then Mom herself, besides being disappointed in me, she had some mental pathologies from her childhood. And so she used to beat me, torment me, have my father beat me. And when we moved to Long Island from New York, we lived right across the street from relatives, and the adult relative there who would babysit me would then sexually molest me until I was 13 years old. And then because Mom had mental pathologies, the parish priest would come over and he'd have his way with me as well. So that was most of my childhood, from a very early age all the way until I was around 17 years old. That's when I really took control of my own life then.
Wow. Okay, that's really, really heavy stuff. And
it's heavy.
Yeah, and I know that you have forgiven everyone who tormented and abused you. Is that right? And if so, how have you done that as well?
Oh, well, that's a really good question, because people ask me that all the time. And yes, this home that I am speaking from today, I actually built with my wife to move my parents in with us so we could take care of them until they passed, which was about 5 years ago. Mom had Alzheimer's, so she completely forgot the past. Dad had dementia, and he forgot most of it too, including his beatings. And so I had let go. It was an automatic thing. In fact, the most interesting part of my story is the kid in school who caused most of my torment. He was like, one of the big jocks on the football team. He used to antagonize the other jocks to torment me. He wouldn't himself, but he would get them to do it. Well, at my 10-year high school reunion, I had just finished doing the movie Grease, the original one with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. I was a professional actor, singer, and dancer. And that movie came out just before my 10-year high school reunion. So I went to my reunion, and this kid who tormented me befriended me there. And it was not even a thought of having to forgive them, because there was just some inner feeling of me that they were wrong, and maybe they had hard times, and that's the reason why they picked on me. So there was an automatic letting go of all of that. He wound up becoming one of my dearest friends and my first spiritual student, and the guy who caused my spiritual awakening. So the forgiveness, everybody asks me that, and I can't actually remember having to forgive them. It was just an automatic letting go of it. I just never held on to it. I guess I wanted to have friends so desperately that I didn't even care if it was the people who tormented me. I don't know, but I never had to forgive them, and I always loved them.
Absolutely, and everything happens for a reason, does it not?
Yes, it does, and because of that one guy who was a tormentor then became friend. That made me realize that maybe there was something about this that I chose, that I put together in order to become the spiritual teacher I am today, and I really truly believe that that's the way it went.
Yes, absolutely, and. Okay, going back to that time when you had become a professional actor as well, was there, and this was prior to your awakening, was there anything in you that would ever have imagined that you would be going down the line that you've gone down?
As far as experiences with it, absolutely not. An interest in it, study, not at all. Just put me on stage. That's all I cared about.
What was it like working on the Grease the movie then, in a sense, and working with John Travolta? But I mean, with these just like normal people to go to work with.
I was just talking about that recently. They're doing over here at the professional theater. They're doing Grease, and my daughter is now involved in theater, and she just did the costuming for it. So we were just there last night, and it brought back all these memories because that was 39 years ago. I made that movie. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life, quite honestly. And I actually got into the movie because I'm a pretty obstinate guy. I really didn't get into the movie because I was originally cast in it. I got cast in it secondary. I was actually chosen as an alternate main male dancer. They had 10 guys, 10 girls besides the stars that were through the whole movie and all the major songs, okay? And I was chosen as an alternate. Out of the 1,000 people that auditioned for it, I got chosen as the alternate. That's what they called me up to tell me. So if somebody didn't make it to California, then they'd call me. I was like, I mean, what is that? Alternate, that's like being almost pregnant. It's impossible. It serves nothing. So I was a New York Italian with a lot of kahunas, and I got on the phone with the choreographer again, and I said, listen, if I come out to California on my own, will you let me get on the set? That way, if you do need me, I'm right there. I don't know what made me do that, other than like I said, my obstinance, thinking I was so good I should be in this movie. And she said, well, I can't get you any money. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Nobody in the entertainment field does things like that. And she said, sure, come on the set. I'll get you on. We'll see what happens. Well, as it turns out, I go my first day nervous as anything. I even brown bagged it because I didn't think they were going to feed me, a little sandwich and an apple in a brown bag. I look like an idiot going in Paramount Studios, and I'm the little guy in the corner. I'm sitting there so quiet and embarrassed, and people are like, hey, who is he? He's not cast in the show. Why is he here? The only person who made me feel good that day is everybody. I thought everybody during lunch went out to eat to the commissary where they were getting free lunch. And all of a sudden, there's a voice behind me, so dainty and such a beautiful accent, that says, this is my first movie. I'm so nervous. How about you? And I turn around and it's Olivia Newton-John. And my jaw drops. I'm like, I love this singer. She was unbelievable, not to mention gorgeous. So we actually sat and had lunch together. Well, long story short, it turned out that Lorenzo Lamas, who played the jock in the movie, he wasn't going to be at the rehearsals for 4 weeks. So they didn't know that until everybody got there. So we're doing rehearsal. Well, they're doing rehearsal. And the choreographer looks over to me and says, listen, I need a stand-in. Are you willing to do that since you're here? I still can't promise that you'd get any money for this, so you'd have to do it for free. And I said, I'll do it. And I stood in and I worked my butt off doing all the dances and sweating and learning it over and over and over again. And within 2 weeks, the producer came up to me and pulled me aside, and I thought he was going to throw me off the set. And in actuality, he turns around, it was Alan Carr. And he turns around and he says, I heard what you've been doing here. I'm going to put you in the movie because of that. I'm going to get you your Screen Actors Guild card. I'm hiring you as a featured dancer, even though I'm really not one of the featured parts. I'm more in the background everywhere, but centralized, so that you can get residuals for the rest of your life. And so that's how I got in the movie. I'm in the whole movie, not a big standout, but you definitely see me. They always put me where John and Olivia were, right up front. They did like me, and I'm still making residuals. That movie is shown 4 to 6 times every single month all over the world. It's unbelievable. That's the story of me being in Greece. And it was unreal. Not to mention, on opening day, they had called me to be one of the dancers and people on a special, television special. And we ushered down the stars to watch the movie into the party, Greece Day USA it was called. We partied with them. I danced with them. I was on TV with them. I'm talking about Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, all of the famous people that were alive back then. And so it was a fairy tale come true. It really was a Cinderella story, you know?
I love that Cinderella, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But what type of person were you as well then, would you say?
Because I was so tormented, and this is the truth, I was tormented. The only thing that kept me alive was my talent. I was a very talented young boy, and I had a great voice, great acting ability. Well, that was the only thing I could latch onto that I felt good about myself when I was on stage and I heard that applause. That kept me alive. And so I had to continuously believe that that was where, that who I was, that was the best of me. So I didn't only just think I was good, I thought I was great. Well, that stayed with me a little bit too much because I didn't give myself room to even grow and think I needed to grow. So there was a little arrogance that came along with that and a false sense of confidence, which is one of the reasons why I teach about self-belief, because I know what true self-belief is and I know what false self-belief is. And so I always needed to be loved. Now, I was very fortunate to meet my wife at 17 years old. God definitely brought us together. It was a plan for us to be together. I know that now. We've been together for 43 years, married 37. And she was the only person who saw the real me and believed in me and would always say, why do you keep acting like a jerk to get people to like you? Just be yourself. They'll really like you. And I didn't know how to be myself because when I was myself, that's when I was picked on and beat up. So I used to, at the expense of people, I was a very funny guy, but it was at the expense of people. So I would ridicule people. I would point out their weaknesses in joking manners. People would laugh all the time, including them, but I never realized that I was hurting them as well. And my wife would be pointing it out and said, you know, that's not how you're going to get people to really like you. And it was one day, when I was older, I just said, okay, I got a new job. You know, as an actor, you get a lot of bread and butter jobs in between. And I got this one job as a disc jockey in a nightclub. And I said, these are all young people here. I can't worry about making friends with them or them liking me. Just forget it. I'm just going to do my job. And all of a sudden, all these people started liking me and loving me. And I was like, holy cow, she was right. I don't have to do anything. And that began a change before my spontaneous awakening. So It started earlier, but before that, I was a real jerk. You wouldn't have liked me. You wouldn't have had me on the show, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, probably not.
It's the truth. But I would have found something to make fun of you. I don't know, you know. Oh, listen to your British accent. You know, you've been talking long. I don't know. I would have said something to try to make somebody else laugh at your expense.
Absolutely, and I think it's just important just to get a context of the journey that you've been on as well. Okay, well, thanks for being honest as well. I really appreciate your honesty. So now let's just move to 28 as well. 28 was a major change for you with this spiritual awakening. Just very briefly, what was your spiritual awakening?
Well, it was this guy that I said I made friends with, right? That I said he was the catalyst for it. His life started falling apart just when we were 28 years old, and I didn't know how to help him. And so I was asking, I literally was crying after spending a weekend with him, my wife and and I was pleading with God. I'm an old, have a Catholic background. So I was just crying out to God, please, you got to help me help him. I don't know what to do. I'm lost here. I love him and he's hurting and I don't know what to do. And I know people are like him and hurting and I need to be able to help them. That was the first time in my life I actually truly felt for someone else. I mean, in that way and wanting to help. I didn't have that compassion before because, like I said, I was too busy trying to get people to like me. And I want your listeners to know that the spiritual messengers that are out in the world today did not only didn't they have perfect lives, but they weren't perfect people either. We'd love to think that the spiritual leaders like Jesus and Gandhi, when they just were perfect children. Oh no, Joseph and Mary had the hardest time with this guy. He would constantly go running away from home and speak in the temple at some place. So he never listened. God. So we're not perfect people, but it then happened after asking that. And within weeks, actually, where it was literally a download, it was a Steven Spielberg, Cecil B. DeMille type of movie in my life with the paranormal happening and psychics coming in and me reading minds and me getting psychic ability and knowing what's going on and all this downloaded information about life. That was the thing. I knew nothing about life. And all of a sudden now I'm knowing everything about life. And it was like a dam burst in my brain. It was crazy. My wife, she didn't know what to do. She was Jewish. So should she call the rabbi? Should she call the local priest to have me exercise? Should she call Bellevue and have me locked up? But she believed in me again and stood by my side through this entire process and allowed it to flow out. And, it led to where I am today.
To take the path you've taken to become a psychic medium, author, and spiritual counselor, and a speaker as well, but to have this, at the core, to have this ability to be able to tune in and connect and give the messages that you do, and also bring back, teaching information as well from the other side, I'd like to think.
Right.
How difficult was that in the end to sort of, shift from even just the regular the regular job, or even the acting, and to really put that
the
to
actor
one,
me.
to put that to one side, to walk away from what is classed as this is normal in a sense, to something that is much more fulfilling for you. Obviously, it has been over all these years.
Right. Oh, yeah. But I didn't know back then it was fulfilling.
No.
I just knew that it was happening for a reason. So I was actually said, okay, I gave into it and said, okay, if this is, I'm supposed to do some of this. I started getting into doing readings part-time.
Right.
And I figured that's about it. I had good messages. I was doing inspirational talks with people in conversation, but not professionally. I was an actor. I wanted to be a star. That was still my intent. And this kept getting stronger and stronger. And the acting opportunities came weaker and weaker and far in between. And literally it was one day when my second child was born, I said, okay, I can't do this anymore. And I turned again. From that point on is when I started turning to the God force that I now know is within me, and said, all right, I'm putting myself in your hands. I don't know what to do here. You opened me up to this ability and power. I don't know how to make a go at this. And then, here I am, I'm wanting to be an actor. And the moment I gave that up in his hands, it became more clear that I was meant to do inspirational stuff. So I even started as that, not even to psychic stuff yet. I was doing part-time readings, but most motivation stuff. So I did motivational training at a company. And because I didn't want to accept I'm going to be a psychic, because back in those days, to me, the psychics were the loons out there. Holy cow, you see Sister Sarah with the palm outside her door there on the highway in this lonely trailer building. And it's like, I don't want that. But it kept leading into that.
That's it. So
eventually, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please. Well, okay. What I was just going to say, I don't want to disrupt you too much. When was that catalyst where it was okay? You know what? I'm going to put both feet in the spiritual arena now, rather than having one foot in that life before and one foot in the spiritual, but both feet in the spiritual.
Okay, I've been working as a metaphysician, as an actor for 35 years now. But it was only recently, I went back to school as an adult, figuring if I was going to use this intuitive stuff, let me do it with more credibility. So I went and I got my degree as a clinical social worker so I could do psychotherapy. And it was in 2008, I was a hospice social worker at the time, still using my psychicness in all my healing, because I would know the problems of my patients instantaneously and be able to diagnose them. And that kept getting stronger. And then the acting was only part-time, like at the regional theater here. That was part-time. And so now my psychotherapy and psychic stuff was more full-time, but not the psychic yet. Not until 2008. I was in an automobile accident because once again, I turned to God and I said, listen, okay, I'm not feeling rewarded. Is this the direction I'm really supposed to go in as a psychotherapist over here? I don't feel rewarded here. Show me what it is I need to do now to get to my highest potential. And in 2008, I was in a car accident that not only caused brainstem injury and double vision, I couldn't drive. It took me out of my business as a social worker. Now I'm home on workers' comp doing nothing. And all of a sudden in my email that I've never seen before was from Hay House, a notice about you can be a mover and shaker. A mover and shaker, a spiritual mover and shaker. You can write a spiritual book. 2 emails came in. And I looked at them, I said, wait, is this what you're telling me I should do? And so I pursued them. I actually took the course. I went there and took the course. All of a sudden, everything changed. Out of nowhere, people were calling me up who knew me and said, could you do a reading for me? I said, okay. And then they referred someone, and they referred someone. So I'm home. I wound up setting up an office in my home. People were coming in almost every day. Then I was getting phone calls. Could you speak here? Could you do this expo? And that's when I said, oh, you son of a gun there. I just have to claim that this is who I am now, and it's going to become full-time. So it wasn't until 2008, even though I'd been doing this over 33 years psychically, okay, and all that experience and all that background, I didn't proclaim it until just recently, and my life exploded after that. And right now, we're even working on my own television show, national television show, because things have become so big because I finally stepped into who I was meant to be.
Congratulations with that. I thought I'd know. I was going to talk about that actually. That's great. That's happening for you, and I know that's a long time in the work, and it will happen. And I know you'll take it into a bit of a different direction compared to some other shows out there, and maybe that's
yes. I'm not the Long Island medium.
No. But maybe that's down to timing as well, because TV nowadays is a bit different to TV even was a couple of years ago in respect to this subject. I hope it is. I think it is. Okay, you claimed it. That's very interesting, and it's funny because off air we were talking about my trip to America in later part of this year, and I'm off to go see a channeler, Paul Ciel. God, wish I could get the name right. Anyway, and he, in his book as well, he talks about the claiming aspect of life, and that's very interesting that you mentioned that. That's very, very true. You claim who you are. What about if you've got so many options you think you've got options in front of you? You probably have got options, but you don't know which one to claim.
Oh, now I know how to teach that, because I was meant to go through everything that I went through so that I completely understand everyone out there. No matter what your interest is, it's all part of one package. It's our interpretation of it. See, I thought I was supposed to be an actor. Guess what? If you were at one of my lectures, it's so powerful, so dynamic, so entertaining, and so touching. I sing at it. I use music. I make people dance. If you've got a heavy-duty message you got to get through to people, you better cover that and cushion that with a lot of honey and a lot of positive stuff, because it can get really heavy. And my messages are very heavy and hard. So that entertainment experience has allowed me to reach people today the way I do, on TV, in person, one-on-one, or with thousands of people. It doesn't matter. So whatever your gift is, whatever your interest is, it's absolutely part of one package. You just have to pull it all together to figure out what that is. I know people that are artists. I know that they also have an interest in doing healing, whether it be energy healing, counseling, healing. Then they also like music. And I helped people put their package together and say, you're going to do healing art, and that's going to combine with the music. And so you're going to have a full practice with full modalities and different modalities in order to be able to heal the person that comes to you. So you're not just going to use touch. You'll sell them a piece of artwork, or give them a piece of artwork, or draw their souls. And you're going to entitle it and put it to music with the music background, give them a video, give them something else. And they're putting it all together and realizing that it wasn't about doing 1,000,001 things. It was about basically doing one with 1,000,001 tools. So that's who we are. Your interests are your tools. Your purpose and your dream and passion is within you, and that's usually just one. We usually come into the world with one true passion. We may interpret it in different ways that leads us in different directions, like mine did originally. But eventually, if you allow yourself to go there, you will get down that path, and you'll use everything that you took with you. Got that? See, that's different.
And what is your one true passion then?
It's to save the world. Nothing short of that. Because my self-belief was torn from me. I took this wonderful workshop one time and said, the thing that was taken from you and the thing that hurt you the most when you were younger is probably your passion and what you're meant to do for others now. And what was taken away from me was my self-belief. And because of that, everything was blocked. So I know the power of self-belief is so important. People think they believe in themselves, and they don't. So with my gifts, I'm able to show them how much they don't truly believe in themselves, and then give them the tools on how to believe in themselves. So my goal is to transform lives by empowering people to see their magnificence and believe in themselves, so that they can use their tools to fulfill their dreams and create the life they want. Nothing short of that. I need to help my brothers and sisters believe in themselves, because it's a magnificent feeling when you do.
And this can just come, if you couldn't make it in face-to-face value, in face-to-face contact, you could do this by just getting a reading with yourself. That's a start, isn't it?
Oh, yes, on the phone, absolutely. That's where we can make that link to start with, for sure. And I see that. My greatest gift is to see your greatest gifts, and to also see what's keeping you from seeing your greatest gifts, and then being able to turn that around. I call myself a transformational psychic, And I tell people that if you've been inspired to have a reading with me, I know your soul is ready for the biggest transformation of your life. So I'm not just a mundane psychic that's going to tell you, yes, you're going to get married this year. Yes, you're going to have 3 children and your husband's going to buy you a Mercedes. That is not my cup of tea. Okay. My cup of tea is removing all the blocks that's keeping you from attracting a Prince Charming or your princess and your Mercedes and your fulfillment and your dream. That's what I want to do. I want to empower you to get all you want.
I like you. You're funny, right? There's a good thing about
You like that? Yeah, we haven't been
Yeah.
on long enough. If we were, you'd really see the humor come out. My goodness.
Humor's so
Gotta
important.
be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's nothing. We're here. We're human. We're having a human experience. Well, we're a soul having a human experience. And guess what? Laughter is part of that as well. There's nothing spiritual about being too serious, I think, sometimes.
You're absolutely right. And like I said, I use humor in all of my events, some of the most serious ones, especially when I'm doing my medium demonstrations. I mean, I've got some really intense stuff going on. Children who have committed suicide that are coming back to make contact with their parents. And if we can't find reasons to laugh, then the emotions get so rough. That's why we've shut them down. That's why we create defense mechanisms to start with, because we don't want to deal with those rough emotions. So I need the humor to help cushion all the rest of the stuff. We need to laugh at life and find the times. Sometimes it is time to be serious.
Yeah.
Like right now in America with Donald Trump running for president. We have comedians here that make some really great. He's bringing up great material for people, but we got to be serious about making sure that everything is in order. So there's a time for laughter. There's a time for seriousness, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of material is going on right now here in the United States. Come on over if you really want to laugh.
Well, there's a lot of karma going on in America right now. America is going through a birthing period again right now. There's major change going on, and what happens in America obviously does affect the world anyway.
It does, right?
Yeah,
right.
It
Whether
does.
you want to be affected or not will affect you.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting to see what's going on right now, and to watch the unfolding take place. But there's major change in the world going on right now as well. I mean, over here in Europe, we have the refugee crisis. That may not be on your news all the time, but that's on our news quite a bit over here, and it's a major problem right now with the conflict throughout the world that's caused this, and there's some major changes taking place. Obviously, with your gift, we've talked a lot about bringing in confirmation that of people that have passed, and the healing that you do through the readings that you give. You probably give future predictions as well for people.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
But do you have the ability at all, like some channels do, to bring through teaching information that's all about making the present moment better in a sense, or coming from a different type of truth in a sense? I know you do. You're all about healing the present moment for the clients that come to you. But has anything ever come to you where you've got this ability maybe to go into, connect with higher dimensional beings in a sense and bring through such information, or is that not your path?
Actually, that's the only thing I do. The psychic ability is what allows me to tap in. I'm actually a channeler. When I first started and I was introduced to my higher self and my guide at the time, I channeled him, but I only channeled him privately with 2 friends of mine and my wife. Okay. Wow. It was a couple and me. And all the information channels through me. And so the only reason why I even get medium messages, I don't need any of those at all. But every person wants validation before they're willing to hear the message, no matter how good the message is. If you don't give them some type of validation to open their minds, they stay more closed. So that's the only reason why I use the mediumship, because if I'm telling you I'm making this connection and I'm giving you all of this information that I would have no idea about. You all of a sudden are like, and you're willing to now hear the teaching. That's mostly what I do. When I say I know, I'm talking about I deal with only the masters and the God source and the higher information. That's why I know what I know and why I teach it. That's why my message is so profound and strong. I am a vessel for it, but I do it damn well. I'm intense. That's why I chose to be an Italian New Yorker, so that I can be strong enough to be able to get that message through, because there's a lot of people out there with a lot of walls, but it is all educational. And so I find it interesting, these trancers, okay, like Edgar Cayce, like Abraham Hicks, like the person you're going to. I never wanted the trancing to draw the people. I wanted the message to. Because here's the interesting thing about all these channelers. Abraham Hicks has fabulous information out there. Edgar Cayce, who has taught Abraham Hicks, has fabulous information out there, and everybody in between. But guess what? Unless it becomes your information, it doesn't matter if this was dictated by God itself. I mean, we're not going to accept it. So it has to be delivered in the way that it reaches you differently. It can't just impress you, because impressing you doesn't put the information into your heart. It's just good information and you're impressed by it and you walk out with it intellectually, but there's no guarantee you're moving it down to the heart. So I do it differently. I don't distract with the idea that I trance. I don't just distract with the idea that I'm just a medium or a psychic. Okay? I do what I need to so that you're now focused on the information and not impressed with me. So I do it differently, but the answer is yes, I do nothing but channel true information. My wife always knows. She says, I can always tell when you're in the zone, because the things that flow out of you are unbelievable. And I know too when I'm in the zone, whether it's coming from my conscious mind or something higher.
Okay, and absolutely, and I think Edgar Cayce had a big effect on yourself. From knowing the guys.
It did. He gave me my foundation. Yes.
Yeah, from knowing the guys at the ARE. I know Brent Bickerstaff, and I know that
yes, you do.
Yeah. That it had an effect on you, and that it was one of the key texts that you studied. You mentioned a lot of points.
It was because when I opened up to this, that was the first person I was guided to, and I'm so grateful that I was. And here's the funny thing: I studied everything about Edgar Cayce so that I'd know what I know, and it was 32 years later, just last year, that I was asked now to be one of the featured speakers at a conference there. They contacted me, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing. I studied with him. He gave me my foundation and core, and now they're asking me to teach for them. I couldn't believe how it went in full circle. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, it's beautiful. That really is really beautiful, and
right, yeah,
it's special. It's a special place as well, and I know a lot of people all over the world, do end up going there at some point if they can do, and you meet all sorts of people there, internationally anyway.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Now, just okay. So as Edgar Cayce, you're channeling, but you're bringing through the mediumistic side so that it reaches the heart of the people. The thing is though that there's many great channels. For example, Seth, Bashir.
I know.
Cryon.
Seth, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. But don't you think that, or feel, and it's not trying to put words in your mouth here, that potentially that those channels reach the right people that they're supposed to reach, and you, with your gift, reach the right people you're supposed to reach? You can't reach the people, or wouldn't reach the people, that Cryon or Bashir or Seth reaches, because they're consciously at a different conscious level and looking for different things compared to the people that come to yourself. So they maybe do reach the heart region of those people, because that's the material that they're supposed to come across at that time, potentially. Yeah, and also,
Well, if you want me to be totally honest, go ahead with the also part first. Go ahead.
I do. That's what this is about, and there was something else you said there as well. But in the sense of the channel, I can't remember what it was. But go ahead with what you're going to say. I'll try to remember what it was.
Okay, here's the thing about all of that. Every one of them served their purpose. And their purpose was to bring us to a new enlightenment. That was what the New Age movement was all about, to understand that we're more than just this physicalness. So all of those great teachers from back then, including some of the more contemporary ones, the Wayne Dyers, the Marianne Williamsons, they're not channelers, but they're great authors, okay? Well, so all of those people... yes, absolutely. James Van Praagh, John Edward, they brought people to the place they needed to go. So it wasn't a matter of that you've got this person over here who's able to just reach this person, or these people over here and this person over here. They all brought, because everybody listened to everybody else. Because if you were going to listen to Edgar Cayce, we read Edgar Cayce's books, and then we read Seth's books, and then we read other books, and so one leads you to the other anyway. The point is, they did do their job, but we are at a different place in humanity right now, where even their job is no longer enough. We need to get to the next level. And the next level brings in some new information. And here's how I know that. Much of the channeled information I have, and I'm not going to give credit to just channeling, because guess what? Even with all of those people, I don't care what they want to say, where the information comes from. It is coming through them. That's the bottom line. It still has to be filtered. It's still a spiritual human being that is delivering that information. If God, if Jesus, if any of the masters wanted to speak through somebody, they'd come down themselves again and do the talking again. They don't need to just speak through anybody. So that's number one. There is definitely this fanciness that goes on without really touching into reality as to what's happening. So people are being drawn to those people without realizing they're channelers. They're the ones that can tap into that. And so what's happening is now you've got people believing in people. We've done that throughout history with religions. The next step is to turn away from those people to yourself, because that other person can give the greatest philosophies. But if you're not applying it, you're not going to be able to create anything or manifest anything. So the higher ups are now telling me we got to direct them now to the next level. I find myself contradicting a lot of great ancient wisdom. Why? Because it was good for them back then, but now they need the advanced course. When you go to elementary school, you don't learn real history then. You learn the history filtered because of what they think you're capable of handling. So they give you all this, some of this nonsensical stuff that isn't always true, even though they're calling it history. It's not until you go to college now and they know that you're an adult and you can handle this that they now give you the truth. It's the same thing with the spiritual information. We've been given what we could handle to get us from point A to point B. Well, we're ready and needing to go to point C. So some of point A to B's information needs to be corrected in order to get there. And so it has to be dealt realistically. I know people are still impressed by all of this, the metaphysical woo-woo and the people involved in it. I'm one of those people involved in it. But I don't want you impressed with me. I want you impressed with you. I want you to stop honoring other people and honor yourself, and stop thinking you don't have this information. Anytime I get accolades, I immediately turn it around and say the only reason why you can recognize my greatness is because it lies inside of you. So that is what I see as the most important step, and that reaches everyone. I've got thousands of followers from all over the world, from Russia to Japan to Australia. So it doesn't matter who it is you speak to, we're all the same. And we all have the same truth. We have different ears, but now we have to speak the same truth. Different paths got us there, but now we got to go down this road together because we need the power of us pulling together, not individual ascensions, togetherness in order to heal this planet. We don't have time anymore for just certain groups of us to evolve. Okay? We've been doing that since the beginning of time, and we're still causing chaos on this world.
And it still goes,
right?
That's still, I like this. This is good, and it still goes on right now. It still goes on right now.
But it can change.
It can change. But that depends if people...
Your problems over there is the same as mine.
Of course.
When I was in England in August, and we're sitting down at dinner, and I'm listening to all of the UK citizens talking about the problems that are going on, I'm like, you know what? I feel like I'm home right now and hearing the same stuff, but we're with a different accent. We're all the same, and we're all having the same issues. So therefore, the solution has to be the same.
Okay. Just coming, yes. This the solution is, as many channels have said, and as many spiritual people have said as well, that we are oneness,
right.
oneness. We are all the same. If we could only see that connection, that what we do to another, we
yes.
do to ourselves, and that love as well. Love is another powerful one as well. What would love do in the next moment? What would love do in the situation now? What would love do in this moment?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've got a very powerful lecture on love that I'm going to be giving now in California and talking about it on my local TV show tomorrow. But yeah, it's all about love.
Absolutely, but oneness as well. If we only saw ourselves as all connected, then my truth wouldn't be the only truth, and I can respect other people's truths. Hence, religion. But just going back to what you said about the channel information, in a sense, it's got to come from a different. It's going to come from a different perspective. I've interviewed a lot of channels recently where it's the same flavor but a different taste. It's the same information coming through, but it's said a different way. Why would these higher dimensional beings come through to waste their time to do this? It seems to me that the situation is, and as has been said to me, is that we never listened in the first place. So these basic teachings, we're still not listening. We still have, we haven't applied them. And I think that's what seems to be part of the main problem. So that's why these teachings still come through. I don't think they would waste their energy. Well, it's not an energy waste, but I just don't think it would be said, or people would be woo-wooing or pretending that they're channeling and putting themselves on that line. Not all of them, to bring through the same information in a sense, but it's said in a different way. So, I'm sure that a lot of the channels nowadays are coming from higher levels in a sense, but it's still saying the same thing in some respects. And I would say the channels as well, they don't want to be followed. That they want to give people their power back. Any good channel wants to give people their power back, wants not to be followed, and wants to tell them that they've got they have the same ability as well.
I agree with you. I'm not saying that, but I still say humans, one of the reasons why United States movies were so spectacular all over the world is because of how sensational they were. People love being sensationalized. Okay, so now you're taking information that both you and I could know if we just sit there and open up to it. But now, because it's coming through a channeler, this must be credible. And that is more distracting. Okay, it's
so why would the entities come through in the first place then?
No, I don't believe that they're coming down here and picking people, because here's the thing about that. We're in free will. And my absolute belief is that nobody from the other side will ever intercede in our lives. We're the ones that have to do that. And so I believe now most of the channelers today, and the good ones, especially of today, are not naming themselves. Like back in the old days, it was Seth and Ruth Montgomery and Jane Roberts. They would channel a named entity. Now they're not saying they're a named entity. Abraham is saying he's a collectiveness. Okay? Come on. It's Ruth's, it's Esther's higher self. That's what she's channeling. That's what I'm channeling when I'm sitting here. But because it made such an impact, and it also brings them fame, and it also brings them notoriety, that's what they've used. Now, don't get me wrong. I also want the notoriety because I have a message I want to deliver, okay? But I'm doing it as a person. I am not going to, yes, will I use some of my skills, but my mediumship is so intermingled in my message that when people leave, they forget that I was a medium and they paid attention to the message.
Yeah. Well, did Edgar Cayce want notoriety then?
Edgar Cayce, I said earlier, there was a reason for them back then. Because they needed to start waking us up. But the reason why you keep getting this information, you just said it yourself. The reason why you keep getting it over and over and over again is because we're not listening to it because of the way it's coming to us. Not because of the information isn't real. It's because people are getting caught up. Do you know that I even have the higher guides telling me every time a client comes to me and says, I want to know my Indian guide, I want to know my shaman guide. The information I immediately get is, this is nonsensical, we got to stop this. They're not turning to the God side of them for the answer. And that was what Edgar Cayce said. Edgar Cayce always said, stop seeking out guidance, including his, because you've got the connection to the God source. Go directly to the God source. It's even what Jesus meant. It wasn't a sin to seek out a fortune teller, but he says it in plain English. Don't seek out a fortune teller. You've got the connection yourself. We have been so distracted by seeking out these people that we're not turning to ourselves. And so we'll go from one to one to one to one when in fact we have the information. And the difference is when I give the information, people come to me and say, that really resonated with me. I always believed that, but chose not to listen to it. But now that I heard it coming from you, I'm going to listen to me. And that's the point of it. So I'm not down talking them, but I am being more realistic. It's really easy to get caught up in the mysticisms of life rather than the meaning of life. And if you go to that channel and he just sat there, let me ask you, I want an honest opinion from you now on this, because you have a lot of experience with this. If you sat with any channel and he just sat there and said, okay, we're going to have a discussion. This is what I believe. And he fed you all the same information, but he wasn't in a channel trance and it was just coming from him, do you think you'd be as impressed with it or think it has as much value as when he goes into some trance and some meditative state and giving you the information? What do you think?
Well, there's a context there, isn't there? I mean, if I was just the average Joe not knowing anything about these subjects and came to see it from that perspective, did the information make me feel more empowered? Did I take away something that I think I could actually use from that would make my life better in the moment? I don't know. That's what I
know, but you'd be more impressed with it because he's now channeling it.
I would maybe feel, oh my God, I'm in the presence of life itself. In the closest form I've been in, you know, that this part of life that continues, I'm in the presence of. Yeah, I could have got that feeling from it, and I could have been impressed from that sense. But I think you wouldn't have been as impressed. So I do channel, And I channel.
I understand you.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah,
But let me ask you this. Really, we know you're getting the channeling information from a higher source.
Yes.
Completely unlimited. Why does the higher source need your body to speak? Why doesn't it just appear?
I don't know. I don't know if it even can.
Because of free will. Because it knows it has no right interceding in our lives. Do you know that that's the reason why aliens were now prevented from coming down on Earth and helping us? They were higher brothers and sisters. They went to a different planet universe. They evolved, and they evolved before us. And it was Einstein who knew this. Albert Einstein said, in order to escape our universe, we would have to have a very highly evolved spiritual understanding, because then we could manipulate matter better.
Yep.
Which was basically what Jesus said. If you have the faith, you can move a mountain. Yep. So Einstein said, if you have faith, you would be able to journey from your universe, escape that dimension, and go to another dimension. All right. So those aliens coming to us was our brothers and sisters in the very beginning. There's hieroglyphics, there's drawings, paintings of them. Those pyramids were not built through their own means. They had help. The Sphinx are even older than the pyramids. They had help. However, there is a council up there of elders, shall we say, and they said, you know what, guys? You had the chance to grow up yourself. You had the chance to make your own mistakes and stand. It's like your brother and sister that are older than you helping you with your homework, and mom and dad turns around and says, hey, let him do it himself. Don't give him the answer. He's got to learn just like you did. That's what happened. They're now being stopped because they were told they have the right to fall, to suffer, to stand, to grow, all on their own, so that they can claim it and know who they are. That's the reason why entities do not appear, be it alien, be it Jesus again, be it any of them could come down today. Leonardo da Vinci, with all his knowledge, could come down right now today and speak to us if he wanted to in spirit form. And if he maintained the spirit form, oh my gosh, wouldn't we? Oh my, we would listen even more. It would be so impressive. How could you, if you're so impressed by channeling, right? Channeling yourself or going to a channeler, how much more would you be impressed with a spiritual entity sitting in a chair talking to you? It's not about that. It's about you gaining the information. I believe, honestly, I believe you are gifted. I believe you're so evolved that you're tapping into the best of you, not another entity, the best of you. And that's where the information is coming from. And now if we can teach others
I've questioned
that.
I've questioned that. I really don't know. I mean,
I know you do.
You have to understand that for me to even go down that road, I still struggle with, to know that I've got a couple of books.
I know, yeah, but I know you do. But you don't struggle with the belief. You struggle with the fact that you're that good to be able to do that. That's what you struggle with, and that's what most people struggle with.
Well, it could be. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I never thought.
We're God. We're God,
of
right?
Course. Yes, absolutely.
We're God.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And how easy is it for us to even admit that? And if we're God, that means we know everything. I don't need my brother to tell me anything. I already know it.
It's my dad.
But look at how hard it is.
My dad.
That's why it's easier to accept that your brother is coming through you rather than you coming through you.
What?
But you're God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. I told you I'm controversial. You think I was going to make this easy on you?
No. Don't make it easy. No. The thing is, though, I mean, it always tells me, that there's at the levels that they're at, they're still deciding that the truth is not their truth is not our truth, yeah. But their truth is just from the perspective where they're at, basically. And it always
That's right.
You know, it always tells me there's infinite levels to go to, you know, and each with their own different truths as growth happens, and you know, it tells me all the good stuff that you've said in a sense, and. But from having you on and you talking to me now, I'm thinking, well, why the hell am I bothering? Why am I bothering? Why am I even bothering to put
why
myself?
Are you bothering
to
with
put myself
what?
to put.
Why are you bothering with what?
Well, to put myself through even writing two books, because if this is information,
I'll tell you why. If you want to know why, I'll tell you why, and this will be from my intuitive side, because the world is asleep and it does need messengers, but it doesn't need messages from out there. It needs messengers that are living here with them, because I want to know that that person has gone through my journey. That's the reason why Jesus came down in physical form, is to teach us who we are, not who he was, and to show us we can do it. We need messengers.
Well, we
do need messengers.
Okay.
We need you. We need me.
Okay, absolutely. But the only way that I can bring these messages is to go into a semi-trance, conscious trance, not an unconscious trance, a conscious trance, and then have the information brought through. I can't bring this information through as elegant as it dictates it to me in this conscious form.
Oh, it can, yeah, you're right. It can be elegant, but you're bypassing your left brain. You're not bypassing your soul. You're bypassing your left brain.
Yes,
the
because
left
it always
brain
comes
is
to the right. It always
brain,
comes
and
to
that's what gets in our way.
It always comes to the right side of me when it's talking.
Right, because that's the intuitive, that your right side is your intuitive side.
Yeah.
The right brain, and this is scientific, the right brain for everyone is located in your unconscious mind. Your left brain is located in your consciousness, because that's where the thinking is. And thinking is conscious, and feeling is more unconscious. Your intuition is in the unconscious mind. Your creativity, everything, it comes from within. So the moment you start tapping into the intuitive side of you, of course it's in that level and it's unconscious. That's why we meditate. If you shut down your left brain, and not through sleep, but through meditation, you now are bringing your right brain to conscious level. That's why it's so great. That is you. That wonderful elegance is you. Can you learn to do it consciously? You can, but you are right. That's what I do. I am not, with all the trancing and the information that I give, I can do it in a conscious state. However, there are times I absolutely have to quiet that side before I can do it, because it can get in the way. Is it easier to do it from a meditative state? Absolutely. But I got to tell you right now, you're that eloquent, you're that versed with your words, you're that special, you're that tapped in, you're that evolved. And the more you honor your inner voice, Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of our famous philosophers here, said, honor your inner voice, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. You've done that. You're honoring it. The only thing that I'm saying, and I didn't mean this to be a session for you, but the only thing that I'm saying, because this is a great example for all your listeners, is that your belief in yourself is the only thing that's limiting you from even more. Because if you believed you were that great and was able to do that and tapped in, that's where we're trying to teach everybody to go. We are that great. We are that magnificent. We have that information at our disposal like that. And so you're sharing that with the world. Wouldn't you want them to know at the same time, not only can you do this and give them that information that they now are impressed by, touched by, moved by, transformed by, but they now can go within themselves and learn how to do the same thing? Wouldn't we want to impart that on them as well? Or do they always have to come to you to get that wonderful information?
No, that's the thing. That's what the channel always tells me, that everyone has this ability. But they would rather be told what to think, told what to do. But
You're right.
yeah,
That's why they
yeah.
keep going back to the channel, because they can't believe they can sound the same way.
But
That's why they go back.
yeah, well, I don't want to be part of that cycle. I don't want to encourage that. But the channel always says to me that that's not what it's about. It always is from day one. It always says to me it does not want followers, and it wants to give people their power back. That's the main things it's always said. We always do things.
I understand that, but how many of those people keep going back to the same channeler? Lots of them.
Lots of them, and for my truth, I've had to think about all this, and it's like, well, they're either where they need to be, because that's what they need to be listening to until they evolve themselves to a higher level. Some channels are full of shit.
Right.
I say that now. Some channels are full of shit, I think, and they're not as truthful, and they are masquerading some stuff behind that, their own issues. I've tried to be.
I don't think you are at all. I don't think you're full of shit.
I've tried to be as honest as
not full of
possible.
shit.
Well, I've tried to be as honest as possible to myself, and it's a scary thing to put yourself out there, to go, not scary, but what it is it's tough, because you're supposed to be bringing through this, whatever this is, and you're trying to be honest that this is what you think you're doing, and it's not your higher self, or if it is, it's better information than I could consciously give out. Yeah, and it's
right. Why couldn't it be your higher self? Why wouldn't somebody want to listen to your higher self? And one day maybe they'd be able to listen to theirs.
Yes.
What's wrong with your higher self? Why does it have to be somebody else's higher
Well,
self?
then why am I making up? If it's my higher self, why am I making up to call it the one? Why is it calling itself the one? Why did it just call it to say it's?
I'll tell you why. Because the same reason what happened with me. My guide, when I was introduced in the very beginning on how to do this, his name was Joseph, and he told me that he was my guide. Okay. And I was great with that. Oh, wow. Great, great, great. Then a couple of years into it, well, several years into it, he turns around, he says, I need to tell you who I am. And I said, I thought you did. You're Joseph. And I'm talking about Joseph from Canaan. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat Joseph. That was my Joseph, my higher self. For some reason, through my life, I was always able to interpret dreams. Now, when I found out that he was my guide, I figured that was the reason. So one day he turns around and he says, I've got to tell you something. I said, yeah, go ahead. He says, I'm you. I said, what? I'm you. What do you mean you're me? I'm you. I'm part of your higher self and your collective soul. And I was like blown away. I said, what are you talking about? Are you telling me that I had a lifetime as you, or that you're part? And he said, yes, we're all one and the same here, you and I. That was really hard for me to accept, because I was now putting all my faith in something other than me. Then I immediately went to, holy crap, have I been making this all up now? Am I really egotistical? And I've got to tell you, the honesty, and I'm sure I'm one of the first channelers and people to tell this to you. We have such a low vision of ourselves that we don't even want to believe there is that higher self. So it's so much easier for you to call it one. But even if there is just the one, sorry about that, you are the one. You are the one. We're all the one. We're all connected to that same place. So even if you're talking to a brother, a sister, that's still you. The God source didn't create all of these souls. We did. Chances are you're even talking to a soul you created before, because you wanted a different experience here. You wanted 2 experiences. You wanted 3 at the same time. Whatever the case may be, it's still coming from you. But we do keep saying we're channeling this, where it's coming from a different source, only because people have an easier time believing that. Who wants to know that you, who picks your nose sometimes in private, who knows, you still wipe your butt, you pee, you do all of that, and now you've got this glorious information? Oh, but if you at least come out with the higher self, oh, it bypasses that humanness. I don't see you wiping your butt anymore. Now I'm listening to your words. But the bottom line is, It's your greatness. It's your higher self. Why wouldn't you want to embrace that? That's the question I leave you with. Obviously, you can believe what you want. I'm just sharing my theory. But I would question.
Yep.
I would question that, not to interrupt you. I would question, why wouldn't you want to believe that it was you? That's the question. Why wouldn't you want to believe?
Yes, and I completely understand what you're saying, and you're a complete kick up the arse right now, and this is good for this is good for a lot of people as well. I always like the opposites, and that's why I'm challenging you a little bit. But when Neil Donald Walsh wrote the books Conversations with God, he talked about creative, it was whatever it was called, automatic writing, which is a form of channeling in a sense, right? But
definitely.
Yeah. But because he used those books with the title "Conversations from God," the Christians and everyone else really loved those titles, and it was a major success because of that as well. I think personally.
Of course it was.
Yeah, but then.
But who was it really a conversation with?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, who was it?
Yes, him.
Yeah.
He's God. Of course it was a conversation with him. Do you really think God needed another being just like this Bible? How many Bibles are out there? And how many people say that God wrote them? Why on earth would God need Bibles? Okay, I have to admit one thing to you. Joseph Smith, who created Mormonism, he never claimed to write the Bible. He claimed that the books that he now presented as a religion were buried under a tree in his backyard. So he knew how to bypass the idea that a human wrote that. Okay? God doesn't need anyone, anything, if it wanted to present information that way. It's us. We're getting it.
Oh, okay.
We get it right, we get it wrong.
Okay, I know we're almost at the end here, and I know you're giving me extra time, and I really appreciate this, but this is very important what we're talking about right now. I just want you to know that, really important for other people as well.
I agree with you.
So if someone else does a book where they're talking about they're bringing it from their dead son or dead wife, for example, information from the spirit world from their dead partner, is that them then again? Or is because...
That's really good, because I did want to bring that up. There's a difference between channeling and being a medium. Being a medium, I even hate that word. It's like, I know it, and actually, I shouldn't hate it because it actually came from your country. It really is a bridge. That's what we are. We're a bridge. And if I bypass my left brain thinking, I can now connect with life on the other side. So yes, I can share stories back and forth, but guess what? Here's the difference. We're still filtering those stories because life on the other side isn't always as glorious as we would like to make it be, because they're still hurting. They're hurting because we're hurting. I've got a father that's on the other side tormented because he abused his daughter and his daughter can't find love in this life. He's still bothered by that. He's not sitting there going, oh, that's okay. Once she comes here, she'll be fine. He's not saying that. So we're bridges. That's different than channeling information. They're not even meant to give us life lessons. They can say, I love you. Please, this is the direction you've been going in because of me. If you made this change, you'd be helping yourself. But they still need to turn to that higher source within them for belief, for extra guided material. So in other words, it's a difference. Like what I'm doing with you right now, and I'm sharing my information, that's not going to alone transform your life. You're going to do that. So the deceased are talking to us just the same as I'm talking to you. That's not what we're talking about in channeling. The channeling is the higher part of all of us, including the deceased, right? That eventually we evolve to. That's our highest source. And then that source keeps evolving. So it's never-ending process. So the information is completely different. Yes, if you can be a medium, write a book, you talk with your dead father, here's what dad has to say about you, great. But once you start getting into actual metaphysical information, transformative information, that's always tapping into a higher source. And that higher source is you. Neil Donald Walsh, if he wrote Conversations with Neil Donald Walsh, not one person would have bought that book, even with the same information in it. But because he titled it Conversations with God, everybody wanted to hear what that was. Because now when you hear Neil Donald Walsch in person, you hear a combination of the same God force and also the human coming in. So you can tap in both ways. And he tapped in, he channeled, right? We all channel when we get out of our way. We're all channeling from our soul's mind to our conscious mind. That's what channeling is, from our higher self to our conscious mind. So he did that. So it's a little bit different than the mediumship. That's why I do want, that's a really good point, and I wanted to make sure that I clarified that. That's like you and me talking.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate that. But okay, just going back to the Neil Donald Walsch thing. So do you think when he crosses over, because he's not going to think about it this way now, I'll never get this information over to him. I might be able to ask him this one day for a final interview, I never know. But do you think that someone like Neil would ever even want to go down that road, that it was himself that he was channeling, he was bringing this teaching information from, in the sense?
He'll know once he gets over on the other side. It's not that he's gotten it all right. Just because you channel it doesn't make you perfect. You know that.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, complete filter and blocking it all the time. Absolutely. But then
exactly. Yeah. So you still have to evolve to the information you know. We know it because the way that when we were created, it became us. So therefore, everything it knew, we know. Right? Everything it knows, we know, but we don't know we know it. We created this physicality to experience ourselves come down and figure out what it is we know. The story of the Garden of Eden and that tree of knowledge, which finally the Pope admitted was a metaphor. It's the story about how we tapped into all of that knowledge way before we could even deal with it. That's why we lost the Garden of Eden metaphorically. Okay, because we started to want to know what we know right away, like kids, give it to me all at once. You can't handle it all at once. But we're here to know what we know, and we have to keep coming back. So just because you get to certain points, and actually Edgar Cayce talked about the 5 levels of consciousness, the last one being, I know, and I know that I know. Okay, when we first start here is, I don't know, and I don't know I don't know. And we have to evolve to, I know that I know. Once you know that you are now acting in accordance with your highest God self. But you can be speaking the information that you know without knowing how to apply it, knowing how to believe in it all the time. You speak some great information. And that's why, because you falter as a human at times and you have your weaknesses, like I have my weaknesses, it's that much harder to believe that information is coming from you. But that's exactly what you need to believe in order to love yourself that much and think you're that great.
What is the of all the years of doing the work you've done? Then I think you've just answered it in that last few words. What is the purpose of this? Do you think, of this reality in a sense?
To know what we know, to discover who we are, to experience our greatness, to experience our magnificence, to experience our weaknesses. Because in order to appreciate your magnificence, you put yourself through some weaknesses. It's to experience us and to know how great we are. And the result of that is sharing the love, is feeling the love, is giving the love, is getting along with each other. But you must love and experience yourself and appreciate yourself first. Our parents, unfortunately, because of their issues, could not instill and nurture out of us how magnificent we were as children. When we can get to that place of letting even our children know how perfect they are, when we can get to that place, then we'll get to the higher level. Then we'll go after dreams. But that's the way it was supposed to start. We're not even close to that right now. So we're just trying to get to the idea that we even have any value. That's really the sadness in all of this, is that's why you see what you see out there. Nobody has self-value, and they're lashing out at everyone else, all their brothers and sisters. Did you know that Osama bin Laden was sibling 51? 51.
Yeah. What love is
Hitler was sexually abused by his mother and father until he was 13 years old.
Is that right?
He wasn't trying to conquer the world. He was trying to conquer himself and his pains and his hurts. It's all about love, and the lack of it makes us do anything. So it has to start. That's my biggest message. Your healing starts with true, unconditional self-love, and not what you think is self-love, but real self-belief, self-love, and recognizing your magnificence. That's where it starts.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. Now, we've been putting your website on the screen, but just so we verbally say it, just give us your website just very quickly.
Okay, it is vincentgenna.com, and that's VINCENT, G as in George, ENNA.com. And you can get all information, see all my videos from my television shows and appearances and interviews on there. And there's one on there that I just did yesterday, that very controversial, because it was with a fundamentalist host who is very, very right-wing conservative, asking me all of these questions, and I went there with it. So you want to hear a really good interview, go listen to that one. It's called The Edge Radio Show. That was really a blast for me to do. I laid into all the questions like you can't believe. I was gentle with you today.
No, I feel like we've gone through the rounds a bit, but I've really appreciated it. And also, I
appreciate you. Let me tell you something. For you to, I'm a guest on your show, and you were so congenial and wise and beautiful to let me even share my message with you. That speaks more of who you are than it does of me. And so I want everybody to know how much I respect that in you, and you are a great host. You really are.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, and I really appreciate you. I think everything happens for a reason, and I've bumped into you for a reason, and it's really, you've made me think. I'll give you that. You really have, very deeply.
Good. So that's my job. Yes.
And I was going to say, I really do honor you and appreciate you for that. And you've pushed. Well, yeah. I'm running out of words here.
Same here with you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And hopefully one day we can cross paths.
I hope so. Absolutely. Well, all I'll say is, Vincent Genna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's good to be here, and good to meet you too. I have a new friend now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.